Welcome back to the Tube Barn. I was going to talk to you this time about the amp circuit, but I've decided I'm not going to do that because the whole concept of this channel is that anybody can build an amp without that much knowledge, and that's what we're going to do from here on out. We're going to start building the amp. I will show you a certain couple of mods that you can do in the amp, in that amp section as we go, but for the most part, we're just going to say, let's build this amp. Now, you got your board material. You can see I tried to do something, so we're going to use this side. Try to use a transfer just to make this easier. The material I used really was freaking garbage, so we're not going to do it. I got these here. Show them down here. We got these. What we're going to do is I'm going to tape these. Now remember, before we get to that, you got to be able to get it in your pan. This could have been done a little bit wider, but I think I like the gaps because I tend to run out of them. So, like I said, we're going to use the pretty side. So, once you get your pan, or I mean your board, which is like I can't remember what this is called. I've been using this for a long time. It was kind of hard to find, and then suddenly everybody decided to use it. Coincidence? I don't know, but it's pretty cool. So this is some sort of non-conductive, highly heat-resistant fiberglass, and it's like a omite, or I can't remember what the hell it's called. I just buy it at this point. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this, and we're just going to use this as a template. I'm going to get this the heck out of my way because I don't need it in front of me right now. So we're going to put it back there. So we're just going to tape it here best we can, and then we're going to drill. I'll probably cut through this, do this with that, speed it up, so you want to fucking listen to me? Ah! So I look like a fucking idiot. I'm doing this shit. I just finger cuffed myself. There we go. So we're good. Well, I could have done that in one. What the fuck? So, okay. So we have this taped up. These are templates. If you want one of these, I'll give it to you. Let me know. I might put them up on a website. I am working on one. Hell, by the time you watch this video, which will probably be 6 or 7, 8 decades from now, who knows if it's still up. So this is a little bit different. I have another one that I could send you that is more typical, which I'll put that up on the screen. Yay, magic. So the reason why it's different is because I'm doing the post-phase inverter masters, which takes this and splits it up. Normally, I'll have to look at that and show you exactly how it works, but normally this is one area. It's a lot smaller, but because we're doing that, I had to increase it, and like I said, I have to use more than one relay. So what I'm going to do, actually, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Slow down, drink some beer. Beer. Okay, getting ahead of myself. Now, some people use what's called, brain just farted, turrets. I like to use eyelets. There are these little tiny things here. I like them. Can you see them? Yes, they're tiny. They're just eyelets, and I'm going to drill for eyelets. I am going to put some turrets in here. I haven't exactly figured out where I'm going to put them because I'm going to run a bus line. Now, one thing to remember when you're dealing with a bus line is you can either put one on the pan, drill it, ground it to the pan. You can put a bus line here, or you can just do all your grounds like I have here. I have a ground there, a ground there, and a ground there, and then you just run those to a bus. Or if this works out, I'm just going to connect these directly to the bus line. Some people, and I've done this, will run a bus bar, which is just a plain cable, very thin, almost like a grounding cable. And they'll solder it to the back of all of the pots. And it does work pretty good. It's a little more work, and it does work great, but there's one major flaw. And that flaw is, if you ever have to remove a pot, now it's stuck in there, and you're going to have to cut the bus line, which you don't want to do. Because when you put it back, then you're jumping it, or you're trying to solder the bus line together. It's freaking unpleasant. Now, when I did it, I had a bad pot. And so I went in there, did it, I had a bad pot. So literally hadn't even fired this amp up very much, and I had to rip that out. So that's why I don't use it, because it works great. But if there's an issue, it's a colossal pain in the ass. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try putting in some turrets here, running a bus line across. One thing to remember is you don't want to run your same bus in your amp area and anything else. If you're doing any weird vibrato stuff like that, don't run it together. I did that once, learned it the hard way. It can feed back into your circuits and cause massive amounts of hum. So you have your bus here for your preamp section, and you ground that to your chassis. Then you have that, ground it to your chassis and other stuff. You can also, on this bus bar, you have your input jack, ground that to it. It's really nice. So I'm going to go and drill all these holes, because all these holes here, boom, 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 all these circles are where it's going to get an eyelet. So let's go do that. Yay! Okay, so I got done drilling these. One thing, remember, when you're drilling it, I have a drill press, makes it a lot easier. If you're using a hand drill, just remember, you want to do a nice, steady, straight drill. You don't want to be boring like this, because these eyelets, they want to just stick right in there. So, if you can see, these little, whatever, printout wiring diagrams I have here, it has all the instructions on it. So even though we're going to take this off, we still have it. If you can get a nice etching transfer, which look that up, etching, which is what people do when they're going to do circuit boards. They print them, they transfer it onto the copper, they put them in acid baths and stuff like that, that etch away the unwanted copper to create their circuit boards. So I'm sure the same process will work with that. When I have these available, I can have them in mirrored or straight like this. So if you transfer it, you're going to want it mirrored. So, you know, backwards. So what we have here, you have like literally valve 3, valve tube. You know, we're going to hear that a lot. Valve, it's another word for these tubes. Valve 3, pin 3, and 4. This right here is one of the grounds off of the inverter. This is the inverter right here. This is the main inverter circuit, and this goes from the inverter into the power tube section. This comes off the plate of the inverter, the plates I should say, and it comes down, goes through some caps, and it's going to go to the masters. These are going to be stereo masters, 2 stereo masters. So it's going to have to work both sides, and then it switches to which side, or I should say which pot is being used. So it's got to be 2 stereo pots. This is where it comes back in. The relays come in. We're going to hit it again with some with some capacitors, and then it's going to go into grids of the power tubes. The bias hits here because this is where the bias voltage comes in. We're not going to get too much into that. I'm just saying boom, 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 that's what it is. And over here we have our rectifier. This is our preamp section. I'm not sure how this is going to end up because this is a relay board, so this could get kind of weird. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the eyelets in. So I'm done pounding in all the eyelets. You may even call them rivets almost. The way they work. So what it is, you stick them in, and on the other side, you take the tool and you flare them out, and that's how they stay in the holes. Now if you look at this one right here, I had to move that. Let's look at that. Where is it? This was right here. Yeah, it looks great on paper and on the screen, but it didn't work because when the eyelets get in there, they're a lot fatter than it, and they were going to touch. There's a couple little close, but none of these are going to arc. I'm not worried about this. It's not a big issue. This looks good, as you can tell. That doesn't make any sense. Well, that's why you still have this. And print out a second one that doesn't have all the holes drilled in it, messing up the paper. So, now that we have that, we need to verify how we're going to lay it out. And that's the big part of what we're doing, is we're going to figure out how we're laying this damn thing out, because that's extremely important. Now, got my faceplate here, you can see. So we're going to put it, remember, but this one is orientated upside down. So I'm going to have, well, this way, but I'm carrying myself. It's upside down like this. So it's going to be like this. So we need, I'm going to move this onto the ground, or I should say the tabletop. Can't see shit. These are nice to have. I just threw this together because when you have a transformer sticking out the bottom, it's a real pain to have it touching the ground. It's a pain in the butt. So don't do that. So let's move that out of the way. Now we got the pan here, light reflecting all over the damn place. It's going like this. We know the pots are going to be here, so let's just go like this. We got pot, and the last pot is going to be right here. And we know that these are the two masters. And this is what we need to concern ourselves with because of the cables running from, I get out the thing again, from here. So exactly right there. So we need to have these run from here to here and then back to there. I am worried about this, which is why I got these. These are good for terminals. You can connect different areas into here, things to ground, like here if you want to go straight to here to ground. But what I'm going to use them for is I'm going to run the wires through them. I'm going to use it as a guide. So I'm probably going to have to get the pan drilled with the pots in it, at least get a nice estimate depth, but they should only be about here. So I'll probably have to do this last, and what I'll do is normally I'll just get some self-tapping screws, so I don't really need to drill the pan, or I don't need to do this when I drill the pan, just before I get a lot of stuff inside it. So it's got 8, which allow me to at least get a space in between 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I'll be able to get at least one space in between them, because you don't want to have them too close together, because they're probably going to cause a little bit of noise if they run parallel or cross. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to go get some tube sockets. Okay, as you can see, I have this partially laid out. Okay. One thing to remember, you got your front of your amp, you want to look pretty. He said I went back there. Let's move this out of the goddamn way. You want to look it all pretty, it's nice. Who looks at the back of your amp? Not really anyone, except for someone that wants to actually have an amp, a guitarist, and they're not going to care too much about what it looks like. My point being, normally, you You line all your tubes up perfectly in the exact area near the edge of the back and it looks good, bullshit. So, the reason why I'm not going to necessarily do that is one, I have a fairly wide pan. I mentioned when I was talking about transformers, it's a wide pan because of the transformer that I use is fairly wide and you need the room. So with that, I need the bigger pan. But you don't want long wires. You don't want to have long stretches of cable. You want to get it up as close to each point as you can. So I think I'm going to bring this a little higher here. I'm not exactly sure. I need to get a couple items in here. I'm going to have the relay boards. So, got a relay board. It's going to be over here. I got another board. Going to be over here. So I can't get it too close. Yeah, so I can't get it as close to it as I want. I may have to play around with this a little bit. So a little farther here. But the point being, we don't need the tubes way back here. We can get the tubes way up here. We don't want them too close to stuff, especially since we need to put in the output transformer to verify where that's going to go. But I'm thinking a little closer. Now, if you see these things, I hate these already. I freaking will never buy these again. They have no numbers on them. I know what the numbers are, but you know, when you're doing stuff, I don't want to count, I want to look at them. And if I'm trying to teach somebody something, I don't want to go, oh, you got to figure it out. I'm assuming 1 to 9. That's how they always go. But still, it's a little irritating. This one, oh yeah, they put them on this side, which is, sorry, shit, fucking mosquitoes out here. All right. And it's gonna fucking rain. Sorry, I had a mosquito bite me, I jumped. This one has numbers on the back side. Well, who cares about that? I mean, there's a gap. Who cares? There's a little freaking groove. It's not like you can put it in wrong. Why not put it here? Either way, it's not a big issue when you know what you're doing, but if you're learning, try to see the pictures and they got the numbers. I just find that irritating. It's almost like a screw you thing, you know, just like they do with cars now with the, you need a special tool. So, and it's starting to rain. Gonna screw up my video. So I'm not in the mood for it. I'm probably gonna have to stop recording and hope it stops. Oh, is it gonna? I don't know. But anyways, I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna go try to figure this out, mark it, and then I'm gonna come back and show you what I did. Okay, I've gone through it. This is approximately how I'm going to have the tubes laid out. One thing I did realize, issue I'm going to have is when I bring in the heaters, a lot of times the heaters, they sit better when they're closer to the wall of the pan. But I'll deal with that. I'll find some way to make sure that they're not moving. Also, another reason is I generally hate stranded wire. I like to use solid wire. I will be using stranded wire on this build just because it's what I got. I don't care for it too much for one reason. It's stiffer. It'll let it stay in place, which is why I definitely use stranded wire for the heaters. Now, when you got all these tiny little wires, that's more resistance. When you got one solid wire, it's less resistance. So less problems with your signals. It's not going to be a big issue. They're very short runs. And, it is what it is. But I recommend, if you can, solid wire. One thing you'll find is these ones here, they have really big holes, which is nice. The problem is sometimes you'll get ones with little holes. Not quite this small. Oops. Not quite this small, but small. And you're using 18 gauge wires on your heaters, and I've had it so they won't fit. The holes in here aren't big enough. So look at that when you're buying those sockets. In those cases, when you have stranded wire, it's not too bad because you just pull a couple strands off the end and it'll go into the hole, or you can flatten it a little bit. And some people really like to wrap it. You the wire around the post. I generally don't do that. It's a pain in the ass. If you can, good for you. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Stranded wire, in some ways, it's easier to do it. In some ways, it's bulky and a mess. It's an art form. Figure out when you're doing it, if that's what you want. Okay, I'm gonna pull this out. You see, I did mount this. And that's where I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna turn this thing upside down. I'm going to take some measurements. I have my really horrible measurements. And I'm going to mark this. A couple things when you're doing this. Let me get these out of the way. When you're going to drill the pan. When you're on the flat bottom, it is easy. It's flat. It's a big piece. And it doesn't flex that much. Get one of these, a little center punch. You mark your hole, take your hammer, pop. Not too hard, you don't want to dent it, but you want enough to start a little tiny dimple or scratch. That way when you have the drill bit, it goes in there, it doesn't start dancing around. Because your drill bit will, especially the thinner ones, they will dance around until it finally grips. If you have a nice little hole for it to go into, or a little divot, it'll actually sit. What I do when I'm going to do a big hole is I'll get a tiny, maybe my 1/8 inch, and I'll do the pilot hole. Just like you see this, you got the little pilot holes. It's nice. It's easier to mark. And when you're doing stuff, you get your pin and you mark it, or you could even go like that, but that's probably not deep enough. Not good idea. Just stick your pin in there. Start with the first one. Measure your pots before you do these. Anything that is going to be a size that needs to be done exactly right, measure it. I'm going to go and mark these, and then I'm going to drill it. When you're doing pots, you're going to be drilling in this way, down. This is flexible. And it's not too bad, but you will get flex out of them. These ones are fairly stiff. Other pans I bought were very flexible. So you definitely, one, make your mark. And two, if you can, get some wood. Get some wood if you can jam them in there. I'm going to take this out, of course, because that's going to be a pain. But put some wood in here. And that way it braces it. So when you're drilling, it's not going to push it because one is trying to dance around and it's trying to flex. And so it's hard to get that drill bit to work right. So remember this, because I've done it before. Remember your orientation. Is your amp going to sit on the top like that? Is your amp going to sit on the bottom like that? That's majorly what you need to do, and majorly what you need to figure out. You're laying this out. Also, are you doing it more of an American style? Or are you going to have it backwards, which is more of the British style? Because you need to make sure that your preamp knobs are on your preamp side. And any switches and stuff are on there, unless you have them in the back, which in some ways I kind of wish I would have done this. I think I'm going to start doing that, putting them in the back. It's just a real pain in the ass. It's over your power tubes and it's kind of a problem. But wrap. I really don't like it. I haven't found a really good way to do it. I like the really deep pans. If you can use it, like that one's a real deep pan, but it's not practical with a single. So anything else on that? No. But yeah, orientation. Because I know this is going to be, get this here. This is going to be my preamp side. This is going to be my amp side. So I need to know power tubes are going here, the preamp tubes are going here, power transformer, and the output transformer. Now I once did this wrong. I had the front looking great, the back was looking great, but they were completely backwards. And it's kind of a pain. You have to stop, order a new pan, spend a bunch of money. You beat the hell out of your bits. Step bits, which I'll show you when I'm doing this. They don't last long, especially if you're buying cheaper ones, because you don't want to buy the $30 bit. Especially if you're not going to build a bunch of amps. kill one bit and throw it away, and maybe you'll build another one later. So there's that. Let me go, and I'm gonna go drill some stuff. I don't want to change the cameras over there. It's just drilling. But remember, it's this power tubes. Power tubes are going here. I'm all over the place. I have a major headache right now. It's hard to think. Oh, also, this is on a riser. Stick my hands on it. So, put on risers. I don't know if this is risen enough because I have that bolt for the transformer. I'm hoping it's going to be fine. If it's not going to be enough, I'll just put in a bigger riser. Also, when you're soldering, by putting your components in there, you got to make sure you cut them short enough so they don't go and touch anything and short out. But anyways, where was I? Yes. This is power. So if we get my handy dandy piece of shit, bunch of crap I got going on here. So we're looking at power tubes. We're looking at 2.5 and 4.5. 2.5, 4.5. 2-inch spacing is good for power tubes. You could do it more if you only have 2. I could go a little bit more. They get a little close together, but unless you're killing your amp, you're probably fine. You know, actually thinking about that, I might go 3.5, 4.5. I might go 3/4. So 4 3/4. So that makes them 1 inch and 1/4 apart, approximately. Now we're gonna go, and I have these at 1 3/4 down. Yes. So I can't see anything. There's one on this side, so you can see. So 1 1/2, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. So you got this and you got that. So our center will be there. So T marks the spot, apparently. Now we have our 9.25. That does not work. So we got 9.25. The inverter tube, I'm kind of questioning where I want it. We have it about here. Of course, it's on that side. That's about there, so we have it here. I'm thinking somewhere's around 10. Hard to say. Maybe I want it too close to this, and that's the problem. I don't want it too close to here, so I want to get it about here, but I want too far, and I want to get it hot with that thing. So I think I'm going to go 9 3/4. I think 9 3/4 would probably work good. I'm here, 9 3/4. 9 3/4. And it's, what, 2 inches down? And it's going to go there. That cannot be right. Oh, sorry. I'm right. I was thinking these are the preamp tubes. My brain went crazy. As I'm saying, it's really easy to get a little nuts when doing this. So now we have, from this side, we have preamp tubes, which are, I'm doing 3 inches and 5.5, so I was doing 1.5. 1.5 is good if you want to space preamp tubes. When I'm talking space, I'm talking on center. But because of the way it's laid out, I don't want them that close because I want to get my cables as straight as I can. Now you're looking at this. See this? This works good. That goes into there, it gets there. And this is going to be the outside. So I think I'm doing it at about 5.5. So let's do it at 5.5. 5.5 at 2.25 down. You should really get a square. At 2.25 down. And you could do it traditionally, or you could do like I'm doing, and just find out where the best place is. Also, as I was stating in another video, and partially earlier, I was going to use this. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to have to go with 2 individual relay boards. I don't like the spacing. I don't like the crossing. I'm just going to hope that they run right, but at the same time, you're grounding all things simultaneously. It shouldn't be too much difference. I do worry a bit, but as long as the relays are functioning correctly, I should be fine. I'll only have to put an LED on one of them since there's no sense in doing 2. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do 2. So there'll be 3 of these in here. There'll be 1 that'll be switching my cathode caps, and there'll be 1, like I said, it's a half of a relay. Half a relay that's going to be switching the gain switching. Remember, it's switched into 2, so I'll be able to switch my gain. And simultaneously switching the master, which is going to be closer to here. Well, technically it's here. It's on the tube side. I mean the pot side. So that'll be fun. Putting these in is going to suck. One thing to notice too, if you're using those LEDs that just punch in and kind of snap into the front of the chassis, you got to stick them in there and then wire them. If you do it like that, it doesn't work. So always make sure you got them in there and solder them in there later, unless you have a different kind. Those will be shown later when I'm installing them. So that's the layout I'm going to go with. I'm going to drill those. Then I'm going to lay out the transformers. So, see you in a bit. So I've started drilling out the pan. As you can see, I have the 2 power tubes, the inverter, and the 2 preamp tubes. I drilled the hole for the power transformer. It'll have this, it'll have that, or that, and depending on how it wants to fit. These things are weird. I can never figure out how they're supposed to be, but whatever. Then the output transformer, which we're probably going to be putting around here. Now the next step is figure that's in there. That's ugly. That's the back side. That's a pretty side. That's down. we have this space here. We have this nice space here. Now one thing about putting on capacitors, the old school amps, especially the Fenders, they put them on the back. They had a little pan. It was really cool. They put in the, I think it's the axial capacitors, and they put them down and they put a little cover. I've seen those covers are very expensive, which is why I don't do that, because it's really, really handy dandy. They're out of the way. You don't have to worry about putting them in there. Like I said, I like using these cans. I'm using these 3. And I have to figure out where I'm going to put them. I have this nice blank spot here. I could drill a hole through it, stick them up there. I don't think I have enough room to do this, especially since the clamps that hold them into place are way bigger. And actually, I thought I had them. I could have swore I bought them. They're obviously in a box somewhere I have to get out. I mean, have to find it and put it in there. What I'm wondering, I'm going to check this out right now and get these out of the way, is I got this in here. This is this way. Do I have enough room? It's put a couple of these spaces in here just so I can get some height. Will they fit here? I could do this. That's another option, which I do like. If there's room, yeah, there might be enough room in there. Now the other question is, will it fit? I don't think it will. Looking at it, it won't. So that doesn't work. This one might work. See, you got that, you got that. That's not gonna work. This one I could probably lay on there because it's fatter. Personally, I should get some of these. I should get more of those. So this one I could lay here and put these in various spots. I haven't figured that out yet. Sometimes you have to get in here and start working on it. But this is a problem because it's hard to drill these. Now, let's get back to drilling. Now I used a step bit. You saw that little thing. Using step bits and whatnot. Oil. Seriously, drill bit lubricant. Oh yeah. I usually don't use it. I'm lazy, but I got it this time because these things stick and you jam and the thing stops. And it seriously works. I liked it. This is a set I got. I didn't spend too much on it, maybe 20, 30 bucks on it on Amazon. Of course, you know, it's probably not going to last very long since I got it on Amazon. But you got it. These are big assholes. You got to go very slow and steady. And if you have a drill, you got to make sure it's a strong, very strong drill. So if you're using a hand drill, put it in there slowly and lube it, lube it, lube it, lube it, lube it. Keep it lubed because it's not going to want to. If it jams in there, you got to pull it out. But you want to get in there. Just get it slow and steady. It'll slip. And if you got to pull it out, put in. No. You know, they're fun, but they're kind of a pain. And this is a 16 gauge. Now if you see this, you got these burrs. I'm going to have to get an angle grind in here for those disc thingies and deburr it. I think I'm going to end it here. The weather's not cooperating. It keeps on and off raining and wind. It's very loud. It's hard on the sound. I'm going to work on this a bit more, step by step. And when we have the next video, we're going to figure out where these are going. Going to drill the holes for the pots and get this thing set up for that. So, sorry for the crappy video. It is what it is. I'm going to see if I can get a couple more out by the next week so I can catch up for my time off. Meantime, ask me questions. Bye.